What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Next Gen Pod. With you is your host, Arnie Amano, and with me is Jamie Shaw and Joe Tipton of On3/Rivals. Jamie, how was your weekend?
Man, everything was good. Everything's good this way. Coming down this home stretch of college basketball season, you had high school playoffs and everything. We updated 28 rankings, so it's a busy time of the year, but it's a good time of the year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the 2028 rankings later on the show. Joe, how was your weekend?
It's going good, man. Going good. Excited for regular seasons to wrap up and some of the coaching changes that are going to happen. That's always fun, like a game of musical chairs at times, and then conference tournaments and then March Madness. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, the guys that are in the hot seat, the guys that may take those jobs. I mean, the rumor mill is going crazy right now, especially with this head coaching vacancies in that portal.
Oh yeah.
Hey, how about this too? Shout out to Ani for top 100 most influential people in college basketball, man.
Here we go.
Congratulations to you, man.
I appreciate it. I gotta keep working at it. Listen, I'm with two other guys that are just as equally impactful in the college basketball space. I
appreciate it, man.
That's real talk, especially the work y'all done over the years, the impact you got on players and college coaches and even NBA scouts. Like I know the work you guys do as well. So
you're too kind. I appreciate that. But shout out to you, man, for getting on that list. That's big time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now let's get to the first topic. And sorry, my voice is still gone. These allergies are still kicking my ass, guys. So I'm sorry if I not sound right. But
hey, how'd your team do in South Carolina?
I had two varsities in there. One won the division, the other won the consolation. So it's a good experience being in the Big Shots event. Shout out to Kevin. Kevin Schneider. I like him. Really good dude. Hosts a really good prep event. But Jamie, let's get into your dark horse NCAA team that could make a run in the tournament in March.
For sure. You look at kind of the makeup of this team. I don't think that necessarily any one team has taken away, or it's like this is the team that's going to be the favorite to win it. I do think three teams, though, when you look at Duke, Arizona, Michigan, I think one of those three teams, if you're a betting person, would be one that would have the greater odds of winning between those three. But then you look at the tier below that, and there's a lot of teams kind of falling in the mix that, could not. When you get to the UConns, the Houstons, the Floridas, the Iowa States of the world, the list goes on, Purdue, Michigan State, etc. Two teams that I'm kind of looking at that right now are not necessarily in that top tier of three or that second tier of probably about 8 teams. That could be very interesting storylines are Kansas and UNC. Both of those teams are fighting through superstar injuries throughout the season. But when both of those teams are right, we see that they can really do some damage throughout the national landscape. With Kansas, and you have the Darryn Peterson situation, they've had some other guys when he's out step up and play incredibly well. When you have the Trey Whites, when you have the Melvin Councils, Floyd has been a stalwart for that team this entire season so far. If you can add in a comfort level with Darryn Peterson, what he's able to do scoring the basketball, and what he's able to bring to the table, and you can get his hamstring in the right spot, they could be primed to make a run in the NCAA tournament, depending on, obviously health and matchups going into that. And then obviously with UNC as well, they just started to look like they were hitting their stride right before Caleb Wilson got his injury. They had just knocked off Duke in that game. And Caleb has been an impactful player this entire season. Now, when him and Vessar both went out, they got smacked by NC State. Then once Vessar came back, they started to kind of get their footing back together again, this UNC team. Add Caleb Wilson into the mix. What does that do to the demeanor of their team? Would they be able to run on the fumes of the excitement level, getting their superstar player back, their two-way player, the guy who kind of makes everything go, one of the top 5 players in college basketball when he's 100% healthy? What does that look like? Will everybody else be able to find the stuff around them, when you have the guards making shots? Because, with both Vessar and Caleb being out, other guys had to step up. You saw Zayden High take some steps. You saw Bogovic make some plays. You've seen Jonathan Powell come in and make some plays. Now, once they get, Vessar is back and you have Caleb Wilson, once he comes back, can everybody else settle into the role, but playing it with much more confidence? That's going to be interesting to see. So I do think that there's a clear three at the very top that I think Duke, Arizona, Michigan are the three teams that, should be favored to possibly win it between one of those three. And there's a clear tier of about 8 below that. But outside of those 11 or 12 teams, I'm going to be very interested to see if Kansas or UNC can make a run.
Yeah, UNC is an interesting one because Visar and Caleb have been out. But when they do come back, that adjustment for those guys that have been playing elevated roles, can they come back to their role, that they've had in the majority of the season and still excel and play with that same level of confidence? That may sound easy because it's like, hey, like, like they're in a group. But that means there's a less volume of shots, right? Less touches. So for them to figure it out, and then you're talking about, like, Jamie, when these guys come back, you're getting into like conference tournament, NCAA, like maybe just right into the NCAA tournament. So there's not like a lot of time to really just kind of figure it out. You're gonna have to figure it out on the spot. So UNC we saw how they were before the injuries and how talented they were and the teams that they were beating. How quickly can they adjust with everybody back? And can those guys excel in their role that they've had in the past, but just be more confident now because they've had, elevated role? Joe, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I hope the good thing is I don't think Caleb Wilson should have too much rust. Like, he hasn't really been out that long. But I mean, they definitely need him if they're gonna be able to make a big run. I also think it's important, like, it's his left hand, that's his left wrist that's injured, is not his right. So I think about like some of those dunks that he's like throwing down right-handed. Like, don't want to see him irritate that again, because obviously I know, like, the way Caleb is, like, he's antsy, like he wants to get back out there, and I think he's going to be back for the Duke game this weekend, or that's what he's like been planning for. So I think that they could. They're definitely one that I thought of that came to mind. And then with Kansas as well, I'm just like, I think the world is hoping that DP plays like as much as he possibly can, because I think the world just wants to just see him play basketball. Like, he is so fun to watch, and just some of the shots that he hits. He's so entertaining and such a fantastic player. So hopefully we were able to see him for the majority of the tournament. And I think both of those teams, could be ones that go on, deep runs.
Everybody wants to see DP healthy, but Joe, who are some of your dark horse teams?
The one that comes to mind for me, and I don't think many people are talking about this team to make a run. And I'm not saying they're going to make a Final Four or anything, but Tennessee, they've been to back-to-back Elite Eights. And I think just what Tennessee, their backbone is defense. And I think that's something that travels, like, they just drain you defensively. They're super physical, tough. They play hard. Rick Barnes is one of the most experienced coaches in the game. I think they have two studs in Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament, who's been fantastic here lately as well. I just wish they had like another elite shooting guard that could just like knock down a shot like whenever. And I think just their depth specifically in the post, with guys like JP Estrella, Jalen Carey, Dwayne Brown, guys like that, Felix Akpara. And they're just super good on the glass, can lead to, extra possessions for themselves and, limit their second chance opportunities for their opponents. So I think they're another team that could, I'm not saying they're going to make a Final Four, but I think, Elite Eight, Sweet 16 is something that could be in the cards for them just based on their defense alone.
Yeah. No, I that makes a lot of sense. And, they have that pedigree, especially with Coach Barnes, leading his teams in deep runs in the tournament. Jamie, what's your thoughts on Tennessee and what they could potentially do with March?
I like Tennessee. I mean, I do like, it seems Nate Ament, it'll be interesting to see how long Nate Ament's out with his injury, when he's able to get back and play healthily. But he started to turn the corner. It seems like him and Jacoby Gillespie have also started to kind of find their symmetry together. You have Bishop Boswell filling in his role, and then you have the big physicality up front. With the guys, it seemed like they were just kind of coming into their own. So I'm gonna be curious as to how long Ament's out with the injury, and then how much that plays on him. But I think Tennessee has ingredients to potentially make a run.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. I think the Nate Ament, just when can he get back with the injury? I think that's going to play a big part of what they can do. For me, it's Alabama. Like, I'm interested in Alabama, especially the volume of threes they take. If they get hot shooting, they're on a roll. I know the front line depth just kind of comes in question from, but when they get going and they're making shots and they're peaking at the right time, I feel like they're a team that can make a run, maybe an Elite Eight run. They've been in a lot of close games, like even the games they lost. They've been in games where against high level teams in their losses, and I feel like they can still do that. And at the end of the day, you got an NBA prospect in LeBaron Philon, someone that can really give to wherever he's won. He's shifty, he can score it. I think teams that can get hot from three like they can and put up a crazy amount of points and get going, and then that brings the energy on the defensive side. They're a team that if they're shooting like that in the tournament, they can make a deep run at it. I don't think they'll win I don't know if they'll make the Final Four, but I can see an Elite Eight run with them.
I think Alabama's super interesting because they have a star. You have a guy who can collapse the defense on every single play with the LeBaron Philon, and you have a bunch of pieces around them. But the two things that I have with Alabama that I haven't just seen this year, but they have it within them, I just hadn't seen them, is all of their players having good games at the same time. It's kind of been one guy has a great game, everybody kind of down. One guy, great game, everybody. They all play on the same accord at the same time, and can they get enough stops? That's kind of the whole thing with Alabama. I agree. I think they have absolutely plenty enough talent to, to do something. And Amari Allen too has had an unbelievable freshman year too, possibly NBA prospect as well there.
Yeah. I forgot about Amari Allen. Amari Allen's been great, and he's someone that is potentially a first-round draft pick this year. And then the last one for me was Texas Tech. Like, I know JT Toppin's out, but just seeing how they've been playing, like that game against Iowa State.
They would have been the easy answer for this before JT Toppin injury. They would have been like,
without question,
Final Four team.
right, like easily, and I don't think they'll make a Final Four run, but like the way they've been playing without them, if they can keep that up, they can make an NCAA tournament run because just how they defend and how they're getting after it. Like
Christian Anderson has really stepped up. He was kind of up and down for me throughout the year and everything playing with Toppin, but without Toppin, since he's gone out, he's been very strong. He's opened my eyes at least. Maybe I was just down on him a little bit to start off with too much, but man, he's been very good.
Yeah, he stepped up in the elevated role.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a big role. It really was just like a two-man show with him and Toppin, but he's really stepped up as
Donovan Atwell, North Carolina, stand up.
Let's go. And then Watts has been playing well. Ben Boye has kind of stepped up as well in the front line. So it's been good to see Tech, and I think they're an intriguing team. But we talked about dark horse teams. Jamie, let's talk about dark horse NBA prospects.
Yeah.
Guys that could really blow up and elevate up into the draft boards with a good NCAA tournament. Who do you got on that?
Well, I think kind of when you look to the NCAA tournament teams, a lot of the guys have kind of started to pick up their pace, recently. When you got like the Morez Johnsons of the world, the Keaton Wagglers of the world, those guys kind of came from behind Braden Berries, and now they're kind of elevating. I do think this Arizona team has more than one NBA guy. When you have Braden Berries, you have Koa Pete and all that being talked about. So Krivas is one, but I think he's starting to pick up a little momentum. So the guy I'm going to land on here is Ivan Karchnikov. Really like his game. I think there's a lot of ability there when you have the defensive versatility that he brings. 6'7", 225 pounds. If you notice that somebody's going off against Arizona, he's the one that picks him up. So he's up there sliding his feet, playing a physical brand of on-ball defense, and making life hell for somebody at 6'7", 225, able to switch down and everything. But he's also kind of a connector on the offensive end of the floor. He moves the ball well. He sees the floor well. And he can knock down, make plays to finish stuff as well. I think in Big Ten plays, averaging 10.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, almost 2.5 assists, and almost a steal and a half per game. Really, really like the defensive versatility. And I feel like were this Arizona team not so deep, if they didn't have so many pieces all over the floor and Tommy Lloyd able to interchange them throughout the course of a game, I feel like guys like Ivan, could have more of a spotlight on them in different situations. However, with the construct of this team, he's filled in his role incredibly well and still found ways to produce. Love the defensive upside that he brings to the table with his size. and what he's able to do as a stopper type of role on that end of the floor, and then the connectivity piece that he has on the offensive end of the floor. I think he's somebody that as Arizona continues to be in the spotlight, I think he's somebody whose film will continue to impress as he continue to move forward.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely like him. Like you said, he's someone that is when someone gets going on the perimeter, he's guarding them. I like his positional size, his versatility.
Turns the water off.
Yeah, he turns the water off and he makes shots. Like I think there's some real intrigue there, even if it's not a 2026 draft thing. I definitely think he's someone you heavily look at in 2027. He's an interesting player. Like I've got to watch a lot of Big 12 basketballs, especially this year, and he's just someone that like you don't talk about it much because you got like you said, you got Koa, you got Burries, Krivas has really stepped up, especially as an interior defender. But he, and I don't want to mispronounce his name, so I'm just not even gonna try. But he's someone that is like, damn, like a key shot here, a stop here, a couple stops here, just really aggravating. I mean, it just his position size and skill translates to the NBA. So, Joe, what's your thoughts on Kachinkov?
Yeah, I think we're all trying to like figure out how to pronounce his name exactly. But yeah, he's like one of those guys that is like flown under the radar for Arizona. Like you mentioned it, Ani. Like nobody's really talking about him because they're talking about Koa and Braden Berries. But I think he's one of those guys that's like more of the underrated guys on the roster that nobody's really talking about. That's still like, he's got excellent feel and size and positionally, and knows how to play the right way. And I think that he's, Arizona is one of those teams that we expect to go on a deep run. So there's going to be even more of an increase because obviously everybody tunes, we watch college basketball all year round, starting in November, even some of the exhibition games in October, but then that's when the rest of the world tunes in and they're going to learn, all about him, especially in the tournament, assuming, Arizona goes on a deep run.
Yeah. No, 100%. For me, I like Silas Demery. UConn has a chance to win the national title. He's a 6'5", he's a combo, can play on and off it. He defends well. I know the 3-point shooting, even though he's shooting 42% from three this year, it has improved over the throughout his college career. But I like his positional size. I like that he can defend. I like that he gets to the paint. He has a really good change of pace. With UConn making a run at the national title. Him, Alice Caravan. I think Alice Caravan is as solid of a NBA rotational player as you can get. One of the most guys for sure. He's going to be a solid NBA rotation guy. But Silas Demery is very interesting to me because he fits that you see in the league those 6'5" connecting type guards that can play multiple spots on the floor offensively and then guard multiple spots defensively, and he can get to the paint. And I think if he can just become a reliable jump shooter in the league, he'll be a solid pro. But I just like what he brings to the table at UConn. He has a high assist numbers. He can get to the paint, like I said before, and he's just a big guard. Big guards, those are guys that the NBA likes, especially at size. So he's someone to me that he could put up a triple double in the tournament, or he can have a loud scoring game, or he can have a loud assist game, or he can just have key stops that allows him to advance from the Sweet 16 to Elite Eight. That can kind of put more eyes on him. So he's someone that's in the second round. Few have him kind of undrafted right now. We know NBA personnel have their own boards, but I think he's someone that could really make a push in the NBA draft with really good play.
Two things about Demery. I've known Silas for a long time. Is defensively, he really, really brings a lot to the table. And two, his just overall feel of the game conceptually and everything is off the charts. He's somebody too that's going to, once they get into interviews and workouts, will really test well when it goes through that process as well too. That's a very good name, and he's somebody that I think will find a way to carve out an NBA career when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think he's just I agree with you. I just think he's someone UConn's going to make a run. UConn, guys they produce pros obviously every year, but they've always got guys that just find their way to make the rotations in the NBA. And I think
through his last 3 years of high school, he lost 7 games total.
Wow.
Playing in national schedule at Liberty Heights twice, and then at Millbrook High School winning a state championship his last 3 games. It was 7 or 8 games total. It was unbelievable winner.
No, that's why I like Silas right there. Joe, who's the one you have as your dark horse NBA prospect?
Yeah, so I don't know if I probably took a little bit of a different approach. I don't know if he's a dark horse because I think he's already, projected as being a first rounder. But Isaiah Evans at Duke, um, I think he's a guy who operates off of confidence, and once he sees the ball go in the hoop, he's going to keep putting them up, and he can get hot in a hurry. And I think he is built for the bright lights of the NCAA tournament, and everybody wants to talk about like Cam Boozer, and rightfully so. And that's going to be what a lot of teams gear towards is being able to try to stop or limit Cam Boozer as much as you can. But I think Isaiah is a guy like he can fill it up pretty quickly, and I could see him being a guy that if he increases his efficiencies, I think he's shooting like almost 37% from three, which isn't terrible, but like I would love to if he was like shooting 42%. But I think Duke is another team that's going to make a deep run, so we're going to be able to see, an NBA personnel alike are going to be able to see Isaiah Evans, as Duke moves through March Madness.
Yeah. Sammy, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, shot makers range shots, and he's somebody who could go on an incredible heater of knocking down shots. Another guy, North Carolina guy, I've known him for quite a while, and he's always had that electric factor of being able to really ring off lots of points in a row. So you got the long arms at 6'6" or so, and his ability to movement shoot, his ability to kind of find different angles and get the footwork right, and that high release point, draw fouls and everything. I think I saw Duke's now maybe 9-0 in games he scored 17 or more points. He's kind of the X factor this year for that Duke team, and when he gets going, that Duke team is very, very difficult to beat.
Yeah, and I think what he's going to be able to show, especially he gets hot from three, is that someone like every NBA team, they want a specialist, right? And that's just kind of what Isaiah is, especially as a movement shooter, like just a high level 3-point shooter. I think if he gets hot, he has like a 20, 25-point performance. He has that consecutively. NBA teams like you look at even the teams contending, all of them have a specialist. And I think that's a really like key part for a team that's even rebuilding, or a team that maybe in that late first round or even late lottery that are trying to really contend in the playoffs and make another run. You need someone.
And the thing too about Isaiah that he's really able to do is that even if he finishes with 21 points, like 14 of those points will come consecutively within like a 2 or 3 minute period, and it's just memorable. It's loud and memorable, and you're like, everybody's going crazy. He's getting everybody pumped up and stuff, and you just don't forget it. So that's something that Isaiah's always had, is even if 85% of the points that he scores are within a 4-minute period, that 4-minute period is one of the most memorable things that you'll take away from the game, with the excitement and the feeling that brings.
Yeah, 100%. Joe, any final thoughts?
Really excited just to see some of the upsets, the Cinderellas. Hopefully we have some of those. Like I remember last year, obviously, all number one seeds in the Final Four. I'm just hoping we see like a, like hopefully Miami of Ohio gets in the tournament. Like I would love to see them like ring off a win or two. A St. Louis, even somebody that we're not talking about. That I always love those stories, like David versus Goliath. You know what I mean? So hopefully we see some of those mid majors. I would love to see one in the Sweet 16 or something like that. So always love those stories.
Or Utah State, who's had a really good season as well.
That's a good one.
Like them, like making a Sweet 16 run. Jamie, what's your thought?
Yeah, I'm ready for these conference tournaments. I'm ready to see who comes out of the Big 12. I'm ready to see who comes out of the Big 10. Like who's going to be able to sustain that bloodbath going through. Obviously, you think Duke and the ACC should have a pretty good chance. You think UConn in the Big East should have a pretty good chance. But these other Power 5 conferences, I'm very eager to see who comes out of those. And then you also have like the A10. Can St. Louis hold serve in the A10? Can Miami of Ohio win their conference tournament? Utah State win their conference tournament? Go from there. It's going to be very interesting to see how it kind of sets up. And these conference tournaments, I think, are going to be very, very fascinating to watch, to see kind of what teams look like and who comes out of them unscathed.
Yeah, those conference tournaments are going to be huge. That's kind of what I'm looking towards, even like in those Power 4, Power 5 conference like tournaments. ACC, I think a healthy North Carolina, it looks a little different. when Duke in there, but just like those other leagues, and even like Utah State, Miami, Ohio, St. Louis. I agree with you, Jamie. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Even those lower levels, like teams that like Wright State, they won the Horizon. Like, can they win their conference tournament? Some of these teams that are like these low to mid majors that have had good seasons. What does the bracket look like? What upsets are we going to see there that makes these brackets interesting? Which can kind of go back to what Joe's talking about with these upsets. What 15 seed, 14 seed, 16 seed like makes these games really interesting and have an upset. So I'm interested like all across the board, just kind of what this looks like, which teams actually start, peaking right on time, because I feel like conference tournament is where your team starts playing their best basketball.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so which team does that, and whichever ones do that have a lot of momentum going to the NCAA tournament. And then, that's where we start seeing upsets, or we start seeing, okay, people kind of teams start to differentiate themselves.
for sure.
So we appreciate your time, guys. As always, thank you for listening to us just ramble and talk for a long periods of time, but we are always appreciative of you listening to us, and we're going to keep doing that every week. So this is the next Jam Pod, and we'll see you at the next episode.